everybody! The GMG pregame show is about to start. Grab your favorite beverage of choice. Sit down. Get ready to communicate with us. And let's go! GMG's pregame show is about to start. That's what the countdown timer is for. Are you ready? The guys are ready to break down the game. Let's go, Vikings! Let's go!
No.
Played. You know what that means. It's time. Skull. Hey everybody, it's Dave here, and it's Friday night, Vlogmas Day 18, and it's the GMG pregame show, where we're looking at the Vikings versus the Bears. Bears will be coming into town, playing noon on Sunday at US Bank Stadium. But first, my partners in crime. Sitting in the prime middle spot tonight is the one and only, from the frozen north, Rhino, King of the Jungle. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, we're doing. It's I think we're starting to get our winter up here now. They're talking the cold front coming through tonight, so be a little chilly in the morning, but good football weather.
Good.
Ready to roll.
What do you classify as chilly?
Low tonight's supposed to be like about 7, I think.
Not bad. Wait till it gets after Christmas and it dives under 0 and you don't see 0 to much.
You won't get that high. You won't get a high of 7.
Yeah. But also joining us, that does not have to worry about cold weather, because he lives out in a hot box out on the left coast, the one and only, the base ripper, Drewster. How you doing, Drew?
I can tell you something about hot boxes. Been there my whole life. How you gentlemen doing tonight? Looks like our second stint with the Chicago Bears coming up this week. I am doing awesome.
Cool. Skull Nick. Skull Clifford. Glad you guys could join us.
Here. Clifford never misses a show. Where's Freddie Hall?
Hopefully, Freddie will be joining us. Now, both teams are entering this contest at 6-7. They both would like to make the playoffs, but the playoff hopes are hanging by a thread. We're going to discuss that. First off,
God damn it, I should hope so.
I would too. Hey, Ted.
Is that Glover? Where are you going?
It's Ted Bertrand.
Bertrand.
Well, good enough, Ted Bertrand. What up, dog?
What you got in your hands there, Rhino? Or not Rhino,
hands,
Drew.
Drew.
That's another football for my collection I found over the weekend.
What's special about that?
I like to play with all my Viking toys. Nothing. This one's signed by Fred Cox, this Nerf I got. So, nothing. We have plenty of time to talk about that stuff later. Let's do some Bears talk.
First, Rhino, what you got in your hands?
Still working on the Hunter edition.
Bushlight.
Where am I? Bushlight. There. This one.
What is that?
There it is.
What does a 12-pack of Bushlight cost?
I don't buy it by a 12-pack. I buy it by the 30-pack.
Even better. You're a good man.
About 20 bucks for a 30-pack. So.
Really?
God bless you, Rhino.
Yeah. Okay.
Job,
cool.
Rhino.
Let's talk to Bears. First off, the word we have is that Mitch Trubisky is back, and we will be facing him. And we know that he has caused all sorts of heartbreaks for us in the past, especially with the fact that he can run the football. Any idea how everybody is going to, or how Mike Zimmer, with the present defense, is going to address that?
Your guess is as good as mine on that one. I mean, it's, we're Kendricks has officially been ruled out again, so we don't have him in the middle. I mean, they're probably going to have somebody that's keeping an eye on Trubisky, spying him, whatever you want to call it, because but in order for him to break the pocket and take off and run, we're going to have to get a pass rush, which we haven't been able to do lately either. So otherwise he'll just sit back there and make a sandwich and have all kinds of time to throw the ball wherever he wants to,
Drew, what do you think of Trubisky starting?
Well, we know he has a tendency to, when he starts heading down the bad path, go completely bad. But like Rhino just mentioned, it's hard to win football games, guys, if you can't rush the quarterback, no matter what team you are. Rushing the quarterback is huge. It's huge for your secondary. And it's huge for your team all the way around, because how else are you going to get the team behind the sticks unless you get penalties on them, is otherwise getting losses of yardage. And, 21 sacks on the season, that is not good.
And was it? 9 of them by our Ngakwe, who we let go after 4 games?
He had 5, and he hasn't been on the team for 7 weeks, and he's still the sack leader. Next is Odenabo, and he's got 3.5.
Guy hasn't been here for 2 months, and he's the sack leader. Now, how sad is that?
Well,
and on the other side, I don't want to get to the defense, but we've also given up 10 sacks the last 2 weeks. They're going to have to get some pressure on Trubisky. It's probably going to have to come by the blitz, but he is certainly a guy that'll take off and run for 15 or 20 if you let him, which is something that they weren't worried about Brady doing last week. He's certainly not mobile, but he didn't need to be. He didn't need to be mobile. He just sat back because we weren't pressuring him. So the Bears have been rolling the last 3 weeks, guys. Bears have been rolling the last 3 weeks. This isn't the same Bears team we saw at Soldier Field at all. So.
Now, but let's look at their injury report real quick. If you look, last time we were having fits until Akeem Hicks went out, and then our offensive line played a little better. Akeem Hicks looks like he's a go, even though he's limited practice. We'll see. Now, the one that I spotted up there for me is Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had a shoulder injury. He was supposedly recovering. He was full practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, and Friday he was limited. One of the local Chicago beat writers said it looks like he re-aggravated it. If Khalil Mack's out, that is a good thing for the Vikings.
Absolutely.
And the only one that they had completely out was Buster Skrine, and which is fine. He gets replaced. Hey there, Freddie. He gets replaced by somebody of lesser quality, which means the secondary is suspect, and they have been suspect per their numbers. But it's that front defensive line that's given us fits for the last 3 years. And
Chicago's their front seven is always tough, and it's I think when we played them in Soldier Field earlier in the year, I think two of the big things that helped us out is that was one day when we actually did get somewhat of a pass rush. Foles isn't as mobile as Trubisky is, and Akeem Hicks going out on defense was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they have another guy go out in that game that got hurt? One of their other defensive linemen, I think, got hurt during that game, which really I can't remember who it was. If I was more prepared and did my job better, I'd have a name for you. But
Freddie, yes, no Kendricks again.
Kendricks is out and Rudolph is out again.
Yeah, if we want to look at the Vikings injury report real quick, we have Kendricks, Rudy out, and Alexander Madison is questionable, which is interesting because they had him not practice due to illness, then limited practice, then full practice, and now he's still questionable. What illness that is.
He had his appendix ripped out 3 weeks ago. That's
true.
What the deal was.
Yep. That makes sense. Maybe he ripped up with some stitches or something.
Well, they're only giving him the ball twice a game. So what is it? I don't know what the difference is.
I think it's like 7. But anyways. That's like our 3 pressures last week. Stats. Yeah. Now let's talk pressures. Rhino and I talked offline earlier today. Our defensive ends. We have Ngakwe, or not Ngakwe. We have Odenigbo on one side, and then we have Wanham, 4th round pick this year, who's showing some sights. But he doesn't start. It's
Jalen
Holmes that starts.
And sad, dude.
They're not getting anything from the outside. And then on the interior, you have Shamar Stephan at nose and Jaleel Johnson at 3 technique, and they're not getting push. That doesn't say a whole lot. And they're not that good at run block or run defensive either.
No, I mean they're just taking up space and they're not doing a real damn good job of that because but this is what happens when you've got a certain someone who keeps trying to find all these diamonds in the rough in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds and think he's going to turn them into all pros. Well, then when your star players or your guys that are starter quality that go out, whether it's injury, whether it's opting out, whether it's whatever, then your B team is basically a C- team at best. So you got these guys
all day 3 guys.
Right. You got guys that have no business being starters in the NFL. There should just be rotational guys come in to spell your main guys that are playing 75% of the snaps.
Thanks, Freddie. Freddie points out that we're 31st in pressure.
Hey, we're not the worst.
Clifford, all 4 are backups at best. Now.
He's not wrong.
Well, 3 years ago, Bill Belichick took his team to the Super Bowl with 3 practice squad offensive linemen. So I don't know how much you want to play the card on having the B players in there. You know what? If you draft Jaleel Johnson, those guys, you drafted them to be better than C- players. I mean, the backups
you hoped, yes,
got to step in. They got to pick up the pace and get it done at some time. I mean, you can't just look at it and say, well, they don't have the talents. They're not going to get it done. The coaching staff has to come up with a fucking scheme to get it done. That's their job, dude. That's the job of the coaching staff.
Yeah. But I mean, the problem is,
we can only talk about the Hunter thing and the bar shit so long before you have to sit down and devise some kind of plan with the guys you got to get pressure.
Yeah.
Go the Bud Grant route. Either you're going to get to the quarterback or I'm going to fucking find somebody to get to the quarterback.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Andre Patterson should be teaching them different ways that they can exploit to get past good offensive lines and get pressure. Period. And it should be schemed that they either, stunt or bull rush or whatever the play call is, right, that they get pressure. Now they've gotten pressure on blitzes. Last time we played Chicago, Mike Zimmer blitzed a lot.
Timely blitzes. Zimmer had some timely blitzes.
Right.
And that's what it's going to take this week. Not just blitzing, timely blitzes. Zimmer called it really good at Soldier Field. I mean, he blitzed on the exact downs he was supposed to, and he got away with it. And I think that's the only way they're going to get pressure on these guys.
Well, and that's the thing. If you hit the blitz right and start getting Trubisky rattled, then he's going to fall apart, and then then it's going to make things a lot easier. But if he sits back there all day long and just has nobody in his face and whatever, even a quarterback as marginal as he is going to pick us apart.
Right, and he's coming off a hot game where he played exceptionally well last week.
Right. Well, we were talking about this before the show started. Since the bye week, and before the bye week, they were averaging like 15 to 17 points a game. Now, after they had a late bye, so they've only played 3 games since the bye, but they scored 25, 30, and 36 points in those 3 games against the Texans, the Packers, and I forget who the third team was, but still, I mean, they basically have doubled their point output since they came back out of the bye.
So what you're saying is this isn't the same team that we faced at Soldier Field.
No, it's not.
It never is. When you play the team the second time in the season, you're never going to repeat what you did the first time and use the same game plan. And if Zimmer thinks he's going to the same things, exact same things will work, we're going to lose. And obviously it's not the same because first time we played Foles. What sort of numbers in this game there, Drew? Do you see
the Bears still suck at rushing? They're still 28th in rushing, which is to our advantage because we can't really stop the rush that well. So we got to kind of pick and choose on that front also. But they're pretty low on everything. I mean, I have them down for 28th overall, which is bottom of the barrel in the league. There's only, 4 teams worse than them. So... But like Rhino just said, that's, what's gone on the last week and the last 3 weeks is what's really important, not so much what happened with the first time we played them. So they seem to be rolling last week. They rolled up a lot of yardage. They got the run going early with the 80-yard run from Montgomery. The Vikings Zimmer knows these divisional teams. He's got to know what's going on with the Bears. So it just depends. You know what? I sound like a broken frickin' record every week. The Drew broken frickin' record about mistakes. The mistakes we made against the Cowboys and the Panthers and the Jags and the mistakes we made last week. The officials, maybe they can give us some home cooking this week. I wasn't very happy with the officiating last week. I think it kind of went one-sided towards Tampa Bay. But still, officiating or not, guys, the Vikings make too many mistakes again. Too many.
Well, we know Trubisky loves feeding Allen Robinson. It's his go-to guy. He feeds Allen Robinson like Diggs gets fed up in Buffalo. Do we have the defensive backs that can stop that?
I mean,
that's funny. We don't have defensive backs that can stop anybody, man.
Actually, I think Dantzler might be able to.
Dantzler, I think, has got a chance to. I mean, he's really played well the last 3 weeks for the most part. There's still the little rookie oopses here and there, but he's played pretty well. And
I heard this week they're getting about to the point where they may ask him to shadow. And if he gets to that point, That's a huge step in Mike Zimmer's mind, on quality, if he can do that. Now, we'll see Sunday if that's the case or if they play sides. It'll be Gladney and Dantzler on the two sides. But I think Dantzler has a good chance of helping shut that down. And I think if you shut that down, you take away Trubisky's security blanket. It's like taking Adam Thielen away from Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, what else do the Bears have for receivers? I mean, you got the rotting husk of Jimmy Graham at tight end,
and he's questionable on this week. But yes, you do have Jimmy Graham. He's
not going to do anything anyway. It's a waste of time.
Their second string tight end, who I didn't snap a picture of, is okay, but he's only played like less than 30% of the time. Somewhere in there, it's a low number. Jimmy Graham's got most of it. Of course, you got Cordero, but that's mostly in the special teams game. So
yeah, he's still not a big receiving threat. Never has been. Never will.
No, never has been.
We're going to kick off to him again and have him run it back all the way.
That is a great question, and I was going to bring that up.
Stupid fucking thing they did. Come on.
It looks like Bailey, well, it's almost 100%. Bailey's playing this week. He's our kicker. Can he blast it through the end zone? So Cordell is deemed, it doesn't matter.
I'm more concerned with his ability to blast it between the uprights, but
Well, you want to get into that?
Let's do it.
I think the Allen Robinson thing, and I agree with Dave. I think we can get him shut down, but I'm going to tell you this right off the bat: you're not going to shut him down if you don't shut the run down first. If they have success running the football,
they'll continue to run the football.
Then we got a huge fucking problem on our hands because they went to Robinson the first 3 plays against us last at Soldier Field. Mm-hmm. So I understand he's the go-to guy. But first you shut the run down, and then you roll over coverage and shut Robinson down. You take care of one thing at a time. If they're running the ball with any success, we got a big problem on our hands.
Hold on.
Well, and that was
Let me tell Zimmer that.
That was another thing last game. They didn't have a running back. They had Patterson.
Have you heard Drew? He's got it nailed. You've got to make sure that your defensive scheme shut down the run and then shut down Robinson. You got it? Good. All right. Good luck Sunday.
Yeah. Information nobody else knew about but me, right?
Right.
Don't you have to shut the run down every week, Drew? But I say it, but the Vikings don't do it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Now, we're talking about special teams and kickers. Ted thinks Maloof's on double secret probation.
I think he's on triple secret probation by now.
It very well may be. Now, we've heard a lot about kicking woes and how different things affect it. How if he's planting his plant foot too close to the ball, that shanks it right. If the timing's off because we switched long snappers, that messes it up. Longwell was on, with Skull North talking about that it's a timing thing. Hopefully, if it's a timing thing, you had all 3 of the specialists, considering Colquitt's the holder, out over on the side of the field, masked up or in their separate bubbles with holes, doing nothing but snap, place, kick. Snap, place, kick. Snap, place, kick.
Dave.
To get that timing down.
We're at week 15. Week 15.
We got a new snapper 2 weeks ago. But it's obviously
But
Bailey.
The thing is, okay, that's all these guys have to do during practice anyway. That's what they should be doing is Bailey should be over there kicking 50 field goals from various points and different scenarios during practice, working on it. You have long snapper, holder, kicker, kick from 30 yards, move it over to 40 yards, up to 20 yards. I mean,
but I'm just worried that they're, on a Zoom meeting and they show the long snapper snapping a ball, right? And then they go to the window of Colquitt going, ooh, catch, boom. And then they go to a separate window of Bailey kicking into a net. And neither one of them are within 20 feet of each other because they're each at their own house. But you would think so.
We're practicing at Egan's, so these guys are supposed to be in the building.
In the building.
So they're not Zoom kicking.
How about get some touchdowns instead?
Yeah.
That always works. You score 6 points on every drive, right?
Ridiculous.
You're going to win.
You minimize the need for you having to have a kicker that's going through the yips right now.
Great plays from the 20 to the 20, and then they get down there and they have to use a timeout or they have a false start.
Except for they're the number one red zone offense.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. The Bailey missed those field goals. They didn't run him out there on first down, dude. They ran him out there on fourth fucking down.
I agree with you. It doesn't make sense.
I think Bailey's going to be fine this week. I don't think it's an issue. The chances are that things go astronomically bad 2 weeks in a row is like the plane hitting the house in Garp. I'm not really worried about that. And if it does, what a
reference.
If it does, we're all callous to it, right? It's not going to surprise us if Bailey misses another 3 next week.
We've all got kicker PTSD. So.
I would like to just try to maybe get some touchdowns, and then the only thing I got to worry about with Bailey is kicking it over Patterson's head and kicking extra points. That's all you got to do.
If we don't go for 2.
Well, yeah,
if anything,
we're one of the best
kick it to that guy.
Conversion teams in the league. So screw it. We get a touchdown, just go for 2 every time.
Absolutely.
Even if you only get it 50% of the time, you're still basically 7 points like you would if you kicked a field goal in or PAT.
Get Zimmer on the phone again, Dave. I'm kicking him right in the fucking onions if he kicks that ball to Patterson. I'd rather kick it out of bounds. I'd rather kick it out of bounds and give it to it at the 40 than kick it to him.
Yeah,
I would.
I agree with you. It's you remember early in Zimmer's tenure when we go to Chicago or Chicago coming to us, and it was Kluey would kick to Devin Hester. And fucking Zimmer would fucking blow his stack. And it's just Cordero's the same way.
Kick it out of bounds.
I don't want to give it to him on the 40, but you can squib kick it.
Squib kick it to one of the up men if you have to.
Yeah.
Kick it over his head. Kick it over his head. Kick it out of bounds. They have to touch it back.
Freddie, I appreciate that.
Bailey's better at home. Bailey's better at home with getting touchbacks. He is pretty good with booming them at home. So let's hope. But you got to tell him.
Nice clean carpet, no wind, 72 degrees.
You got to tell him you're on your own, man. If one of those things falls short and he catches it at the 5, you're a deep shit.
But the problem with Patterson is he'll catch it 7 yards deep in the end zone.
You got to kick it beyond the end zone.
You got to kick it out the back of the end zone.
You know what? Tackle him too. That's always an option. You can always tackle him too. But I'd rather not even put the ball in.
Dave, get Marwan Malouf on the phone. Tell him that too, because
I don't have Marwan's phone number.
The Bears are playing right now. You can't give him any more freebies. At Soldier Field, that's the only thing that kept him in the game at Soldier Field was that third quarter kickoff return, the start of the third quarter. Otherwise, we dominated that game. We can't give him any free shit. No pick sixes, no punt returns, no kickoff returns.
No bullshit penalties that give them a ball.
No fumble returns.
Continues drives.
Yeah. No pass interference on a freaking Hail Mary or Harrison Smith getting flagged again for a shoulder hit.
Yes, Freddie, I've seen him do it.
This is a big game. Both these teams are, like Dave said, 6-7.
6 and 7. And
you're not hanging on to shit. You go to 6 and 8, you're golfing.
No, you go 6 and 8, and you're almost completely eliminated.
The team that loses its game on Sunday is done.
Yeah.
The team that loses on Sunday is done. Then it's
just they're both basically done right now.
Well, yeah.
Much.
No.
How's it go? Hold your horses.
Hold your horses. Hold your horses. No. It could be as bad as 8 and 8 and still get it.
If every team in the NFC loses the next 3 weeks, guys, we're in.
Yeah. No, but it literally, there's realistic chances that winning will get you in. You've got to win.
And we still have to have Arizona lose one game.
Well, which
Even
realistically is anticipated that they'll lose at least against the Rams. So,
but that's not a given either. That's a division.
Nothing's a given on any Sunday in the NFL. You can have some teams win that you never thought.
One of these weeks, the Vikings are going to cut down on their mental errors. One of these weeks, it's going to happen, guys. One of these weeks. I'm not sure when, but one of these weeks, they're going to play a pretty clean game. You can't be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, but one of these weeks, they're not going to make 20 of them. They're only going to make like 5 or 6. And hopefully that's this week starting forward.
That would be nice.
Christmas Day, we're kicking the shit out of the Saints, and you could book my words right now.
Even in this constricted environment with COVID and the lack of practices and the Zoom calls and all the other bullshit, you would think going into week 15, they would have some of this down by now.
You would think.
Meow, 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 meow. I think so.
Anyways, one chart I forgot. PFF. Vikings are favored by 3. Over and unders 46, which is actually pretty low. I think I went too high on the hate week challenge. And you can see where where PFF has the Vikings on both offense and defense, and they're basically opposites. We're slightly better per PFF. We're 19 versus 20 on overall ELO, and that's about right. If you think of us where we would be in the league, how quality overall, we're about 19th, and Chicago's about 20th. Now, the only problem with that is Chicago's been hot lately. Minnesota barfs on its shoes. So, who knows?
And we're still playing decent.
Another tough divisional battle. You have to play better. Got to play better.
Yes.
Well, and winning Sunday guarantees us a winning record in the division this year, which is something we haven't done for a couple of years either.
True.
We beat all 3 teams in the division once. So if
Whoa! Whoa!
Hey, you know my prediction at the beginning of the season. Obviously, that can't happen.
Well, we're going to sweep everybody, and Zimmer's going to get Coach of the Year. Yeah,
well, I didn't say anything about Coach of the Year, but I said sweep on the division team. If we get 5 out of 6, that's a turnaround, especially with this team, particular team.
Vikings have the 7th-ranked offense in the NFL. 7th. Let's see it. Let's see that.
Yeah.
I can't say much for the defense. You're kind of hoping with turnovers and maybe a dropped pass here and there that costs them a first down, or maybe a fumble here and there. But offensively, we don't need any gimmicks and we don't need any bullshit. We just need to play our game and stop kicking field goals. Get that ball in the end zone. Let's go.
Is Dalvin Cook going to have the game like he had last time against Chicago?
What did he have, 113 last time?
He was just barely over 100.
Right, right in there someplace.
And I think total yardage with passes was about 130. But is he going to break 100 again?
I'd like to think so.
He did last week against the number 1 rushing defense.
Well, they're going to give him the ball enough times where he has to break 100. They're going to give him the ball 35 times.
Right. And that's getting to be the issue. Yeah. I mean, Dalvin's already over 300 carries for the year. I think it's 310 or something like that.
Yeah, he's closing in on a record. If this pace keeps up, he will have the Vikings record.
Well, the Bears are 17th in the league in rush defense. They give up 115 yards a game. So 115 is the benchmark or the baseline, as you like to call it. Let's see if we can get to 115.
And they were better the last time we played them against the rush, rank-wise. But we'll see.
Yeah, with Hicks in there.
That's what I'm saying. Akeem Hicks is questionable. We'll see.
Maybe if Mac doesn't play, though, that's
or Mac's questionable. Akeem Hicks.
Mac's questionable. Hicks will play.
Hicks will play.
Either way, Zimmer's got to know the Bears. He's played them enough in the last 6 years. He's got to know what's coming at him, what game plan Nagy's going to want to do. So there's no excuses and certainly no gimmicks. The Vikings got to go out this week and get it done. Mental mistakes, details. Remember, there's a word we haven't used on the show yet today. Details. It's all in the detail.
Speaking of which, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Who's going to be his top receivers in order this week?
C.J. Ham, Tyler Conklin, and Chad Beebe.
No, that's only when you're down by 20. C.J. Ham screen passes. Sense of urgency. I'm going to say, how do I go away from – I'm going to go Adam Thielen. So I'm going to play him in the game of skulls. So we're going to go with him.
Well, Adam is his security blanket, but Justin Jefferson's quickly –
with Rudy out, Irv Smith could have another big week. So you never know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who has a big week. Get that thing in the end zone so I have to watch Bailey kick field goals.
Yes, that's what I want. Whether it be Thielen, Jefferson, Irv. I'll even take BB stripping wings off of the Angels if it's getting us first downs and maybe a touchdown.
The only thing I care about as far as who's catching what and whatever is that we have more points than the Bears do at the end of the freaking game. It doesn't matter how we get them, where we get them, whatever. Just freaking win.
Thanks, Booger.
I'm usually one. Her simple formula to win a game: score more points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if we score more points than the other team, and then they're going to score less points than us, and then they're going to lose, and we're going to win. Back to you, Drew.
I can't wait for next week when you guys.
Ready? Gronk had his breakout game last week. Yes, there's another one.
Yeah. Gronk or Kronk, whatever you want to call him.
Conklin.
Gronklin.
40 yards. So I'll take whatever we get, just as long as we keep moving downfield and we put the ball in the end zone.
And
easier said than
you, like you and Darren talked about on the 2-0 Blogger show the other day, we don't need to have if we are down these 8-minute drives in the second half, they're, we got to play with a little bit of urgency. Even if we're not down, if we're ahead, play with a little urgency, pick up the tempo a little bit. It seems like when we start doing a little more tempos, the pass game starts opening up a little bit more. But we never do that. It doesn't seem like until
I don't know why they wait to get into trouble to do that. They don't have to wait till you get it. You don't have to use that as a come from behind tactic. You can use it at any time.
Yes.
Do they know they can use?
Yeah.
Yes, throw off momentum, throw off rhythm, to keep a certain set of defenders on the field that you can exploit. There are reasons to use it, but we have not seen it.
Wait a minute, Dave. You mean you can keep the wrong defenders on the field for a play? I mean, half the time Zimmer will call a timeout in that scenario so that the defense is able to make their switch and get the right person.
I know, which
irritates the piss out of me.
Yeah, it's one of Zimmer's flaws. One of many. Anyways, I mean, he has many good traits, but that's one of many flaws. Freddie asks, and I posted up before, I'll post it up again, what if KJ Osborne runs one to the house? Freddie, if he runs one to the house, I'll do a shot of my Primo tequila just for you. I'll record it, and then in the Raw, we'll play it back.
No, screw that. You're doing it on the Raw.
Isn't he doing the shot anyway?
He's just not recording it.
Oh, Freddie, I would love to talk to that offensive line if I could.
They don't want to listen to
Clifford,
you, Dave.
Yeah.
No, but here
Use
again,
the tools we have.
The problems with the offensive line, and we talk about this a lot, is, and we had a big discussion on this the other day. Zimmer has that offensive line set up to run block. He really doesn't give a shit about pass blocking, and it shows.
Well, I'm sure he does, but I think he prioritizes the run blocking over the pass blocking.
But he prioritizes it to the point. Dakota Dozier's a good run blocker. He's ass when it comes to pass blocking. You put Mr. Invisible over at left guard. He's a better pass blocker not quite so much at the run block.
Right.
But
Something.
Zimmer's not. The pass blocking is secondary in Zimmer's mind.
Well, now that pass blocking is going to get us in trouble this week.
Yeah,
because starting at Jacksonville, they discovered a problem. Well, it has the last 2 weeks. They discovered a way to attack it that seems to have worked, and that's running stunts, where a defensive end and a defensive tackle, defensive end will crash down, usually on the guard, defensive tackle will loop around. Jacksonville did it. Buccaneers did it. It's something that the Bears like to do. Now, that comes to O-line coaching as to how you defeat stunts. And it comes down to O-line plays. Offensive linemen have rules, right? And depending on the play, their rule is, head up, outside shoulder, inside shoulder, depending on what it is. But if somebody crashes down, you either push and keep him away at arm's length with literally a jab, shiver, or you carry him to the next guy next to you, be it to the center or be it to the tackle, depending on which direction it's coming from, and then you dish it off. The Vikings offensive line has not successfully done that in 2 weeks. That to me is an O-line coaching issue, needs to be addressed. They should, because offensive linemen, at least starting in high school, if not before, are taught to deal with stunts, because that's when stunts get introduced into playing and how the different things you're supposed to do. Hopefully, this week, like on special teams, but specifically on the offensive line, you hear a big popping sound as they could pull their collective heads out of their asses and get it right, because they're going to need to defeat the pass rush that they're going to get. Now, they won't do it all the time, but more is a hell of a lot better than less.
Well, and I'm going to go back to last week just for one thing. I mean, Cousins got knocked around the worst in his career last week. But the thing that got me, it just irritated the ever-loving crap out of me every time, is when Cousins is picking himself up off the ground. You've got at least a couple offensive linemen standing there with their hands on their hips, just watching the whole thing. No, you guys should not just be standing there watching, or even worse, when Dakota Dozier got a fucking sack last week because.
Well, I think, like was joked upon before, Dakota Dozier lets his guy go back and then goes, "Oh no, I'm going to tackle you anyways, so save you the heartache." But this shot from last week illustrates it perfectly. You have Riley Reef there. You have Dakota Dozier there. They're turning around and looking what's happening, and the only one that's trying to stay with his man is Ezra Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland's trying to block two guys, and the other two guys are just standing there. And I saw that a lot last week, and that irritated me.
Oh, and it should.
Oh, it should. I mean,
Ted, Mike Tice isn't walking through. I wish he would.
No.
I wish he would have taken it. What was it, a year or two ago?
2 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. And I wish they would have allowed him to. They would have changed their language, but he's by far a better O-line coach than we have now.
Well, I mean, Dennison's been doing this for a while. It's not like we just pulled him off the street.
No.
I mean, he should know what the hell he's doing.
And he was part of taking Kubiak's team to the Super Bowl and that whole zone run thing.
Yeah, but okay, we're here again now. We're starting to go with Kubiak went to the Super Bowl and all stuff. Yeah, that was 10, 12 years ago, whatever the hell it was. Here again, we're playing back to the future with our entire team. Zimmer wants to play like it's 1994. Kubiak is about 2000, 2005 maybe. The league has passed by what we're trying to do here. We're still trying to, play the old school way, and everybody else is going high power, throwing all over the yard, and
right.
But
where we want to win with defense, and This year, we obviously don't have that defense. However, it's getting better and better. It's just small incremental steps.
Yeah, but
They play to keep their jobs. It's not play to win the Super Bowl. It's not scheme to win the Super Bowl. Take big gambles, right? It's play to keep your jobs. It's coach to keep your jobs.
And but finishing 6-10, 7-9, when you have a team.
Listen,
last year made it to the division round, and everything else. I mean, and here again, we beat our heads against the wall talking about this every damn week.
And we should.
Why is average acceptable? Decent is acceptable. It should not be.
It may get you in the playoffs.
The bottom line with the offensive
line may
line
get you in the playoffs
every other year.
Anything less than hitting the division round every year should be considered an abject failure of a season. I don't care if you go 11-3, 10-6, whatever. If you, yeah,
you're right, Drew.
The first 12 games of the season, the Vikings allowed 21 sacks. The last 2 games, the Vikings have allowed 10 sacks. Go ahead and do the math. Something has gone wrong the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like Kirk Cousins hasn't started to get mobile, because he has.
And in terms of the long term, Rhino, the long term and the thought process of building your team, you guys, I don't know if you noticed, I watched the recruiting and the National Signing Day and all that stuff pretty close.
No, I noticed.
For the first time since 2006, a team landed the top 2 tackles.
Really?
In the recruiting. Both high school top 2 guys went to Alabama. Which isn't a shocker, but if you talk, I heard an interview with Saban. You know what Saban said? I don't care.
Besides, give me a Kleenex. I got to clean up this mess.
No, listen. He said they asked him about 5-star recruits, which he gets an enormous amount of, and we all know why, because he's a good recruiter and Alabama wins. But he said something very interesting last week when I was watching the interview on the live signing day. He said, I'm not worried about 5-star recruits at any position except offensive line and defensive line. That's where I need my 5-star guys.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say here is point out Nick Saban saying the game of football is won at the line of scrimmage. And that's what the Vikings need to understand. That's where you start. That's where it all comes from. Defensive line and offensive line, you build it there first and then go out. The Vikings are still struggling. And believe me, I don't like Nick Saban, but he's absolutely right in this sense. That's where he wants to build his team. That's where he has to be strongest on his team is O-line and D-line. That's it. He said, I'll take whatever I can get anywhere else. I got to have my 5-star guys in the trenches.
Yeah, and he'll generate wide receivers and corners and off
just
of that.
Because they got the name Alabama, the wideouts and the running backs and everybody else is going to go there. You already know you're going to get guys there.
Yeah, so he's going to be competing for national championships for the next 4 years.
And the point is, I think with any football team on any level, you need to build it from the inside out. And I think we have, like Rhino says, we've talked about this offensive line thing for so long now, even dating back to last year. Until it gets to the point of what we need to get it to.
We've been talking since like 2015.
Yeah, at least.
Well, and this is proof that you need to take care of it. Mm-hmm. You need to take care of it.
Yes.
And they're not. They haven't.
Honestly, I agree with you. I like the big round bellies.
Our offensive line hasn't been good since Hutchinson left.
You want to get to be a dynasty team? You want to get good? Then you build that offensive line to get good. You imagine what Dalvin Cook would be doing, right? Dalvin Cook's the best running back in football. You imagine what he'd be doing with a stud-ass offensive line? Oh, my God, dude. 250 yards a game.
I proposed to one of the scouts that we deal with regularly that does our shows. I believe it was Matt Foo Fighter. If not,
that Matt dude is smart.
Yeah,
he knows his stuff.
If not, it was Tyler. It's Tyler I was talking to, who's also smart, both on the draft show, that the Vikings are going to have needs in the offseason. And I know we're looking ahead versus at Chicago particularly. But is it time to say, hey, let's focus on those lines, O and D, since we already have weapons across the board in many key spots, both on the offense and the defense, and focus on those lines and get that healthy in this draft. Yeah, you'll have to get a safety and you'll have to get some other spots. But focus on the lines. I think we would get the bigger bang for our buck.
Should have been focusing on that the last 6 years, David.
Yeah, as Rhino and I discussed today, everybody except for Hunter and Crichton was taken on day 3.
Yeah, when it comes to defensive ends. On the offensive line, I mean, we've picked a few guys early, but we've picked the wrong guys. I mean, we had Elfline that didn't turn out, and he's not with the team anymore. You know, Bradbury is
Bradbury.
That's a huge miss. Elfline was a huge miss.
Jury's still out on Bradbury. I mean,
yeah, but he's declining. He started out better, but he's not playing well lately.
No.
I mean,
and that may be because of guards, because center play very much relies on the guard play, and the guard play relies on center play.
Everybody was making a huge deal. Remember, we got Reef and Remmers in the same offseason. Man, the Vikings are really making moves. The reason they had to go get the free agent guys because they can't draft for shit. That's what happens if you can't draft for shit. You end up going to free agent and trying to plug your holes because you haven't drafted good enough. Draft and develop your own guys.
But they don't have the choice now. Players. They can't go out and buy those spots.
No, they don't
because they don't have the money. They've got to draft.
There's also the problem. You know, we're buying into and running this zone blocking stuff, which requires a little bit smaller, more nimble linemen. The problem is now you've got, and Chicago's a prime example. You've got big guys that can move. And you got big guys that can move against little guys that can move. The big guys that can move are going to run their asses over every goddamn time.
We're going to find Hicks out.
And Khalil Mack. We're picking when we are drafting offensive linemen. We're picking the wrong type of players. You know the moves and whatever. I mean, you can get bigger guys now who are talented, who are able to pull and move and do whatever this stuff. You don't, get a guy that's 310, 320, whatever, and stick him in at guard instead of a guy that's 280, whatever. But here again, it goes back to an antiquated philosophy that the powers that be on this team refuse to move on from.
We'll see. Now, bringing it back to Sunday. Drew, you're looking at your piece of paper. Is there anything else you want to highlight?
No, I was just trying to find out what antiquated meant.
Outdated.
No, I hear you. Rhino you always make really good points, and that's a really good point. I don't want to get too much off track because we are supposed to be talking about the Bears.
The Bears game. I'm sorry, I led us off track.
No, you know what, David? Being a Viking fan, it always evolves into this. Every show evolves into what eventually you're going to start talking about what needs to go on next year because we're nearing the end of this year. So naturally, we all want to talk about what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, but I come first with offensive line play because that's,
No, and it's something we figure out can't get solved every year. But in terms of this game Sunday, I just the Vikings are a lot better team than what people. I mean, even their record would give them credit. If the Vikings would cut down on their mistakes, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how good they are. They are a pretty damn good team if they can play,
especially offensively.
Right, they play a clean game. They are pretty good. Sure, they got their flaws, but the Vikings can hang with anybody if they don't shoot themselves in the foot with stupid-ass penalties at the 6-inch yard line. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, it falls back to a lack of discipline and fundamentals.
Yeah, I agree.
Stuff that these guys are professionals and they should know better.
Yes, both individually and as a coaching staff to instill them. Right, it's across the board. You don't make stupid mistakes.
And Flip, and then when we had the In the Raw show, not to shove it back to what's the off season, but I think the Vikings need to tear it all down fundamentally this season. Not jobs, just in terms of a team. Sit down and get the dry erase board and go, all right, what do we want to do? I think it's time to do that as a team.
Yeah.
But also,
instead
but
of playing this both, we're winning for now, and no, we're rebuilding where they went this way, and the Vikings
it's a lot of
went straight
guesswork.
up
There's
the middle.
guessing going on.
Right.
There's got to be a plan. You can't just guess your way through it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you can't just come out at the end of the season and say our offensive line needs to get better, then do nothing to make it better, like we did this year.
I thought I was going to go through the game with no arm slap, but there we go. That is well said, and that is it. That is it. That is the statement of the show right there. Well done.
With that, let's wrap this puppy up. Rhino, what do you see happening Sunday?
I mean, like I said, like we talked about, I mean, the Bears are a different team than when we played them a month ago. You know, if we cut down on
Drew's
going to go Harry Carey
a sick obsession with his knife. Yes,
I love my knife.
But
sorry,
if we cut down on the mental mistakes, the screw ups, the untimely penalties, the missed field, I mean, basically, I mean, it's a long laundry list of stuff that we
dial in the focus.
Right.
Just like on a camera. You're sitting there, a photographer looks through the lens and he goes, "Ooh, yeah, baby, precise."
Yeah.
That's
tick, tick, tick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and it's not a hard fix. It's just being more disciplined, like, you know, offensive linemen jump or, you know, false starting at the 2-yard line. You guys know the snap count. You know, there's not crowd noise that's screwing you up. Everything else, you know,
especially at U.S. Bank,
right?
There's nobody.
So I mean, it's that kind of stuff. It's, you know, everybody, you know, and I keep saying this: you got to go out there and play with pride in your job, in your team. You know, your professional players that get paid millions of dollars to play a kids game that any number of us probably all we ever wanted was to do this stuff. And these guys get to do it for a living. I mean, you know, go out and we're at the point this year. I mean, if we lose this weekend, we're done. Go out there, play with your freaking hair on fire, play like you're having fun. Just go out there and don't overthink things. And I think we'll be fine. But if we don't, it's going to be a long day.
Had a coach once. It was the last game of the season, and he's putting in all the seniors. And he says, "You guys got nothing to lose. You're not playing next year. You know, nobody's going on to play college ball or college going to play pro ball. Play your hearts out. Play like it doesn't matter. If you get injured, you get injured. Play your hearts out." They need to be at that point where it just doesn't matter. Play your hearts out. You tend to do better that way. And go for it all. There's nothing to lose. At worst, you fail and you don't make the playoffs. And you may not be here back next week or next year. So go play like you've never played before. Play with abandon. Go do your best. Drew?
I agree with what both of you are saying, and I'll keep this short because I have to whiz.
Ontario.
What you guys are both saying is very true, but you got to understand, Zimmer's a conservative head coach. He's tentative. He wants to play it simple. He wants to play it close to the best, and Kubiak's the same way. So I am all for what Dave's. You know, let it go. You know, throw caution to the wind. Let's play like
there's no tomorrow.
Just said. But the coaching staff, Zimmer and Kubiak are ultra conservative guys. They want to run the ball with a 3-point lead. So you're asking them to do something. They're not going to do it, dude. They're all set in their ways. The Vikings go up 17-10 in the third quarter. They're going to go into a shell and try to hang on to it. And that angers me, and it probably frustrates you guys because you want to see them keep their foot on the pedal, which is what they need to do. This is a divisional game. I think the Vikings do get the win here because I think it's time they swept Chicago. And I think they will win this game, and I think they will play a cleaner game, and I think Sunday in the Raw will be celebrating a win. And this is coming from pessimistic Drew, so take it.
It's shocking. I'm worried about the stunts against the offensive line. Drew's calling for a good Morning Gjallarhorn in the
What's
Raw.
to worry about with Dakota Dozier? Come on, David. What are you worried about?
Yeah. But always remember, 15 minutes after the game, and it's usually about 10. We try to make it 10, but 15 minutes after the game, we go live with GMG in the Raw. Flip comes on. Drew, hopefully Ted.
Meow, Viking cow.
Outstanding. Everybody, stay safe, stay sound, stay healthy, enjoy your beverage of choice.
There's no room for
Good
crybabies either. There's no room for it.
And join me tomorrow, noon Central, early time, for Vlogmas Day 19, GMG and Friends. And our friend this week is Warren Ludford, the fantastic writer Warren Ludford from Daily Norseman, who breaks things down in a simplistic way that makes you understand every single nuance of this Minnesota Vikings team. We look forward to seeing all you join us.
All right,
and Warren tomorrow. Skol, everybody. Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.